What's up guys, it's Bastian here coming at you with another Pokemon theme deck, and today we are looking at the Lieutenant Surge theme deck, specifically from the Gym Heroes set, brought to you by no other than Wizards of the Coast. This is one of those theme decks that I've been hunting for a while, and I am super glad to finally have it. No, it wasn't a new one, so I'm not opening this on the channel. It didn't have the coin in it, but it does have the rest of the stuff, rulebook, unpunched damage tokens, and it's got the card list as well. But what we're really here to do, what we're really here to look at are the cards, which I can happily announce have all 60 of them. And again, it's just one of those team decks that we got really short shifted on, shortchanged by Wizards of the Coast, because the Japanese Gym Heroes theme decks are superb. Did you know that all of them got at least one double colorless energy in them? Imagine, I mean, as a child, we were struggling to even have one copy of DCs back in those days. And, you know, in Japan, you could just buy one of these and it immediately had one in it. And it makes so much sense with all those Pokemon included that do have an attack for two colorless energies. But anyway, here we are. 2023. This has way gone by era. So let's look at this beautiful Lieutenant Surge's deck. So one thing that's really cool about this is that it has one of it. This is the first card, not these specifically, but the first ever card I got into my hands that was from the Gym Hero set was a Lieutenant Surge's Pikachu, and I just noticed that that copy there, the corner is crunched up, which I'm not happy about. But this is what you get. I mean, it was still a fair price. At least I got all the cards. Now, what's really cool about this Pikachu is the charge attack. So if you get this little guy out, unfortunately we don't get the Raichu in his deck, but we can still pack some punch, and it does work really well with our boss Pokemon in this deck as well. So charge for one colorless, you can take one Lightning Energy card from your discard pile and attach it to this Pikachu, which immediately gives us some ramp power. Now we do need to look at how we're going to get energy cards into our discard pile at the beginning of the game, and luckily we did get at least two cards to do that with, which is pretty cool. So this does synergize with some trainer card that we have in this particular theme deck. But that Lightning Tail attack is not too bad either. It is a 20 attack, and it has a 50-50 to paralyze. So it's a nice little starting Pokemon to have out at the beginning of the game. But even later game, it can be good to stall with that paralyze effect. Moving on, we have 3 copies of Lieutenant Surge's Voltorb. Now, the Japanese one actually did a 2-2 split with the 2 Voltorbs, and they even thrown in an Electrode into that Lieutenant Surge theme deck. We did not get this, unfortunately, but it's not a bad Pokemon. Okay, the 40 HP is not particularly great, but it does have a 1 energy attack. Spin Ball, where you get a 50-50 chance to deal 20 damage. That's not too bad actually. The double spin does the same stuff, but for 2 energies, and this time you get to flip 2 coins and you deal 20 damage times the number of heads. It's not too bad. Moving on, we do have some colorless Pokemon in here. We got 2 copies of the number 21 Lieutenant Surge Spiro. This one comes with 50 HP, which is not bad. It does have the Whirlwind attack again, a single energy attack, really good. If your opponent has any bench Pokemon, he or she chooses one of them, switches with the defending Pokemon, but we do the damage before switching the Pokemon. That can be really good. It can work for us as basically additional copies of Gust of Wind. Also, the Spiro doesn't have a retreat cost, so it's always a good one to start with. That Razor Wind attack, imagine if we had a double colorless in this deck, and we would be able to go first turn, get the heads, and be able to deal 40 damage straight off the bat. That would be amazing. But realistically, what these Spiros are in here for is to cover the fighting weakness that we have on the electric ones, and actually brings in, of course, the fighting resistance. So it's not bad. And indeed, we do get a copy of the level, sorry, that was the level 20, level 17 and the level 8 Spearows, only 30 HP, but it does deal 20 damage, no questions asked, for a colorless, which is actually fantastic. This is really nice, really splashable into other decks as well. It certainly doesn't have to be in a Lieutenant Surge's deck. I kind of prefer Blaine's Doduo for that. Okay, you do have to flip to get that 20 attack. If you, it's kind of like similar to the Razor Wind, but for one colorless, it can deal 20, but it's got 50 HP, which is pretty good. But anyway, either way, we get two nice Spearows here to cover some of that fighting weakness. And now we're gonna go on to the boss monsters, and I say boss monsters because you guys know that what really matters in these theme decks is where you can evolve your Pokemon. So we got 4 copies of Lieutenant Surge's Rattata. This little guy in its own is actually one of our boss monsters because we can do a 1-2 punch, you know, focus energy first turn, make that null deal 40 damage, and we're on a guaranteed 40 damage, similar to that Razor Wind on the Spearow, but this is of course guaranteed with a little bit of a setup, and it does give us some psychic resistance, which can be useful against some decks, but of course we have to deal with that fighting weakness. I do love the Lieutenant Surge's Rattata, and I specifically love the Raticate, which also has that very jungle scyther like effect with these attacks. But we got the other Raticate, still not bad, but this one can never technically KO. Well, yeah, eventually in the end, because you round up to the nearest 10, but it's very difficult to actually KO something with the Raticate. But what you can do is push in the Raticate, deal like, you know, 30-40 damage to some beast that your opponent has on the other side, and then go and send in perhaps a Pikachu or one of these Spearows to just finish the job off. Super Fang only costs you 1 energy, and it's a colorless, does damage to the defending Pokemon equal to half the defending Pokemon's remaining hit points, rounded up to the nearest 10. So yeah, eventually it will KO it, but it does take some time to get to that point. Nevertheless, it is one of our boss monsters. It's 70 HP. It is an evolution for Rattata, and we're going to be relying on this guy to certainly be one of the heavy hitters. The other heavy hitter, and the foil of the deck, evolves from Lieutenant Surge's Magnemite. Again, I like this guy. All these Lieutenant Surge's Pokemon are sort of in the same sort of area where all of your basics will be able to do something with 1 energy on them, which is fantastic. You're not just, you know, waiting along to be able to do some damage. You actually have always got the ability to deal some damage, or at least, you know, perhaps get some extra energy out of your discard, or set up your no attack for the next turn. Lieutenant Surge's Magnemite, with a lightning energy, it does a thunder shock 10 damage, a 50-50 paralyzed, 2 colorless, it does a tackle for 20. But what we really care about is what it evolves to. We get this beautiful Lieutenant Surge's Magneton, which is our boss monster. Have a look at this guy. 70 HP, the energy charge synergizes so well with Pikachu, it's unreal. As often as you like during your turn before you attack, if Lieutenant Surge's Magneton is your active Pokemon, you may take 1 Lightning Energy card attached to one of your Pokemon and attach it to Lieutenant Surge's Magneton. And it does a Mega Shock attack for 4 energies, one of them is a colorless. 50 damage is already nothing to scoff at in the theme deck format that I promote these decks for. And with a coin flip, it might have to deal 20 damage to itself, but it's 70 HP, and realistically you're going to be clearing the field pretty much with that 50 damage attack. So I love it. I love the art. It is a Magneton that's actually good. It is a really good Magneton. You know, it's something that you can definitely rely on, and that's something that Lieutenant Surge's Pokemon are really good at in sharing out the energies, and you do have a little bit of a ramp in the form of like Pikachu, for example. So there's actually quite a lot of synergy between these Pokemon, and I do like that quite a lot. I do like that quite a lot. Okay, so this is our Pokemon lineup. So we got 4, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We got 19 basics and we get 3 evolutions, which is actually pretty good. Now, yeah, again, realistically for the basics, we got anything from 30 to 50 HP. It's a bit of a mixed bag, but probably enough to stall to get you one of the Rattatas out or the Magneton out and then be able to deal some significant damage. Okay, let's go and have a look at our trainer cards moving on. Just make a little bit of space here and then we'll be able to look at our trainers too. So the first thing with every one of these theme decks is the gym leader itself, and the Lieutenant Surge card. First of all, it's wildly off center that I just noticed. But this is basically our switch card. Doesn't really work as a switch card because you have to throw the basic Pokemon from your hand straight into your active position, but your old active Pokemon will go back into your bench. And actually in a deck where you have so many basics, it should be super easy to get this going, and yeah, it can work really well as long as your bench isn't full, because you have to have a space for the active that you're pushing back to the bench. This card does work very well as a switch, because it does basically deal with any status effect that might be on your active. So I do like Surge, and I also think it is a very good card when you play the gym only format. There is a format that my buddy and I came up with where everything's allowed, but only from the 2 gym sets, so Gym Heroes and Gym Challenge. And it's a really fantastic format, guys. If you haven't tried it out, I highly recommend to try it out. It really opens up the brain juices when it comes to deck building, because it takes out so many sort of like cancer cards out of the game. No energy removals, no Lass, no Oak, no Cleffa, no Elm, none of that stuff. You still have Warpoint, you got Lieutenant Surge, you still have Erica to draw cards with. There's actually a bunch of cards that you can draw cards with. You got Misty Steers also to look for water energies for a particularly good Misty deck. You can still ramp with Blaine if you run a Blaine deck. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, so highly recommend it. Anyway, the next one is the gym that we need to look at. This poor Vermilion City Gym copy has seen better days for sure. It is basically a permanent plus power on a 50-50 chance, and if you do get it wrong, you still deal the regular damage of your Pokemon, but your Pokemon has to take 10 damage. I still think it is a really good stadium card. I need to have a look if I have a better copy of this, because again, the one I have got is, yeah, it's in some playground sand. Not as bad as some of the ones I've seen before. It's still absolutely playable. But yeah, I mean, it is a good gym. Obviously, you have to use it with Lieutenant Surge Pokemon, but it's perfect for this setup. And then what synergizes really well with that Lieutenant Surge is Pikachu. Early game, if you do get a secret mission into your hand, not only do you get to look at your opponent's hand, get some information, what they have to deal with, what you have to deal with, what they can work with, and perhaps be able to just, especially when you play theme deck against theme deck, they could be stuck on energy. So you might be wondering, oh, should I, send in the Rattata? Should I use focus energy? Well, you can use secret mission, look at your opponent's hand, then you may discard as many other cards as you want from your hand and draw that many cards. If you have a boatload of lightning energies in your hand and you have absolutely no idea what to do with them, throw a bunch away. It will be good fodder for Lieutenant Surge's Pikachu, and then that stuff can power up your Magneton, and you will basically be able to just go ahead and power up your your boss Pokemon very quickly. It works really well in this little theme deck, and this is our only card draw engine as well, by the way, which is a bit of a shame, but at least we got something. Okay, for the rest, we got a little bit of disruption here. Plus power is always a good little sneaky finisher when your opponent least expects it. In the Steam Deck duels, a plus power can mean the world. If you think about a Magneton there, if it's fully powered up and you have Vermilion City Gym down, and you attach a plus power to that Magneton, you can fully power it up. You might be able to deal 70 damage. You're guaranteed to deal 60 with the plus power. You might get the City Gym right as well. And then, it might deal 20 damage to itself. It might deal 30 damage to itself, but you got the potential to deal 70 damage, which is still absolutely brilliant. And really, this Vermilion City Gym makes all of these guys a particular threat. I mean, just imagine being able to go out with Lieutenant Surge's Rattata and dealing 50 damage just for 2 energies, with a focus energy, then no attack the next turn if you get the heads on the Vermilion City Gym. That's pretty dope. We do get 1 copy of energy removal. Why 1 copy? I don't know. But this is very typical to these theme decks. But what's really good, we do get 2 copies of Gust of Wind, which is quite rare in these theme decks. So there's a lot to work with. Gust of Wind, with those 2 Lieutenant Surge Spiro, you will be able to hopefully be able to do some setting up when you're going to be sending in your Magneton, when you're going to be sending in your Rattata or Raticate. So that's pretty nice. And then finally, we do get 2 copies of Potion, which again can work really well on your Magneton, and it can, just generally speaking, keep your Pokemon around a little bit longer. Now, the Japanese version comes with a Super Potion. It comes with a Defender as well, and I think Defender for like a Magneton kind of deck, where you do have some self damage, I think, and also against Vermilion City Gym, I think it's better to have Defender, but Potion is a little bit more flexible at the end of the day, and we do get 2 copies, so at least we can do a little bit of healing. And then you guys hopefully know the drill by now. We always get 28 energies in these theme decks, and again, I must highlight that the Japanese Gym Heroes and Gym Challenge theme decks, they all had 28 energies, but they also made sure that they had space for 1 double colorless energy. And also, you got 3 rares. That one has Surge in it and Magneton, but they also give you a. I don't think they give you a Raichu. I'm fairly sure you get. Well, you got none of the Spearows, actually. You get more evolutions, but anyway. If I ever see a cheap one, then I might just throw it onto the channel. I do have a Japanese Blaine theme deck, and considering I did the Wizards of the Coast English version, if you guys are interested, let me know in the comment section. Leave a massive like, and let me know if you want to see the Japanese Guren City Gym theme deck, because it would be a nice little comparison to what actually we got, the Western audience. But from my point of view, this theme deck is definitely a fun one. I'm so pumped to try it out. I don't normally do this. I'm an absolute sucker for the purple card sleeves. I actually ordered a box of yellow Dragon Shield matte for this deck specifically, just to have it yellow with the lightning theme. Super cool. Looking forward to it. It's going to be an absolute blast. Anyway, guys, up until next time, Bussy and signing out. Peace.